When I thought about the first Holy Communions today, I thought maybe we should change the readings. But these readings are absolutely perfect for First Holy Communion, as I hope at the end of the homily you will understand. Jesus Christ was amazing. Even if you're not a Christian, you have to admire the fact that millions of people are so impressed, so in awe of his beautiful words. And if you're a Christian, you realize that Jesus performed many miracles. He raised people from the dead. Someone had a sickness. They were dying. And Jesus, with a word, cured them. Someone had a withered hand. And Jesus touches the hand, it is completely cured. Jesus did amazing things. But think about it. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, but that's only mentioned in one gospel. Jesus, for example, cured people who were lepers, but not all of those cures or people who were born blind are mentioned in every gospel. What miracle is mentioned in all four of the gospels? The miracle that we hear about today, this amazing sign. Jesus takes 5 loaves and 2 fish, and he feeds over 5,000 men. It says it doesn't count the women and the children, which means that Jesus probably fed at least 10,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And not only did he feed them, but from the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, there were 12 wicker baskets left of food. Who is Jesus Christ that he has such amazing power? And why did the gospel writers, all 4 of them, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, why did they say that this miracle, among all the miracles that Jesus worked, was absolutely central to who Jesus is? Well, let's begin with a little bit of history. We know that this miracle of multiplying the loaves and the fishes reminded the Jewish people of many things that God did in the Old Testament. And specifically 2 events, 2 miraculous events in the Old Testament. The first one was when God fed the people of Israel who were in the desert, who were complaining, we have nothing to eat. Unlike kids today who never complain, right? No, kids never complain today. Mom, can we go to McDonald's? Why do I have to eat spinach? No, you guys don't complain. You say, Mom, I know we can go to McDonald's, but I prefer spinach, and I prefer things like that, healthy food. Well, the Israelites had nothing to eat. So Moses prays and he asks God for a miracle. And God sends down what? Manna, a type of bread, something that the people could eat. And this saved them. But in today's miracle, God does more than simply send down a little bit of manna. God gives us a tremendous occurrence. He feeds thousands of people, and so much so that there's still a great amount of food left over. But there is a second miracle that takes place in the Old Testament, and that was done by a great prophet. His name was Elisha. And Elisha took 20 loaves, and he was able to feed 100 men. Now, that's quite a feat. As you know, I was on vacation, and when Father Stephen is out hiking the whole day, I could easily come home and eat 20 loaves myself. But Elisha took these 20 loaves, and he fed 100 men, which was a miracle. But let's do a comparison. Elisha, who's a great prophet, a great man of God, feeds 100 people. Jesus, with only 5, not 20, with only 5 loaves, feeds over 10,000 people. And so the early Christians said, look at this miracle. Look at a great man like Moses. Look at a great man like Elisha. Jesus is much greater than they are. These great men of God did wonderful signs, but nothing like Jesus did when he multiplied the loaves and the fishes. But we don't simply look back at the Old Testament. Jesus multiplies the loaves and the fishes for a very specific reason. He wants us to think about the greatest miracle that he works in our lives. And what is that greatest miracle? It is the miracle that these young people today, these 4 young people, will receive for the first time. Jesus multiplies the loaves and the fishes because he wants to tell us that he will give us a bread that will never, ever leave us hungry. And that is the bread of everlasting life. That is the Eucharist. Now think about it. When Jesus performs this miracle, what does he do? There are gestures, there are words he says. Takes the bread, blesses the bread, breaks the bread. When do we hear those words? At the Mass. So Jesus purposely does this to allow us to remember that he will give us something, a bread that he will take and bless and break, that will feed our souls. And that, brothers and sisters, is the bread of the Eucharist. It is the body, the blood, the soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. Now we know this for sure for many reasons. First of all 4 gospel writers use the same words when they talk about this miracle and they talk about the Eucharist. Jesus takes, he blesses, he breaks, and he gives the bread. So it's very clear that the gospel writers want us to understand this. But even more than the other ones, John, the last gospel, the 4th gospel, tells us about the miracle of the loaves of bread and the fish. But then he adds a very important discourse, a very important speech of Jesus called the Discourse on the Bread of Everlasting Life. So first Jesus performs the miracle of the bread, and then he says, if you want to have a bread that will always keep you satisfied, you must seek the bread that comes down from heaven, like the manna. But what happened? Your ancestors ate the manna, and they died. But if you eat the bread I will give you, you will live forever. And this is the bread that these young people are going to receive. The bread of everlasting life. The body, the blood, the soul, and the divinity of Jesus Christ. Of all the gifts that God gives us, this is the greatest of all the gifts. But notice something. When Jesus Christ gives us, he doesn't simply give just the right amount. He gives us such a superabundance that we can't finish it. There's so much there that we can never completely exhaust everything that he gives us. It reminds me of a cook I had in Poland. She was a very nice lady because she loved priests and she could cook pierogi. And many pierogis are about this big, but this lady made pierogis that were about that big. We called them in Spanish pirogazos. They were like little pierogis, they were pirogazos, they were huge pierogi. And not only that, but she would ask us before lunch how many people were coming. And we would say 4. But if we said 4, she would make enough for 10 people. There'd always be pierogis left over. So one day I said to her name was Stefania. I said, Stefania, Mrs. Stefania, you are a great cook. Because not only do you cook well, you cook so much food, there's always so much food left over. And she says, oh, Father, I know I'm a good cook, and I'll tell you why. A couple of years ago, I was working in a parish, and a newly ordained priest came. And he was flaquito, very, very thin, bardzo szczupły. And after 1 year of eating my cooking, he had a beautiful belly. Brzuszek, barriga. Those fruits of my work. She was so proud that the priest had a big belly because she was very generous. But this is the way Jesus is. Jesus keeps giving, and he gives so much that we can never exhaust. We can never eat everything. This is the way the Eucharist is. The Eucharist has everything we need to follow and to love Jesus Christ. Young people, the Eucharist is called the source and the summit of the whole Christian life. The source, meaning that everything, all the spiritual gifts and treasures of the church come from Jesus, so it is the source. But it's also the summit. What is the summit? The summit is the highest point. If you're going up a mountain, it's the highest point. So when we receive the Eucharist, there is nothing more important or beautiful than that. Even marriage. Some people might say, especially marriage. No, I know that's not the case. I'm sure all of you are very happily married. As the saying goes, love is blind, but marriage gives your sight back, right? It's a saying like that. But when we receive the Eucharist, that is the closest thing to heaven on this earth. Think about that. The closest thing to heaven, because the Eucharist is Jesus Christ. And the church says, the Catechism, in number 1326, it says when we receive the Eucharist, we are actually participating in the heavenly banquet. In other words, when we come to Mass and receive the Eucharist, heaven and earth come together. We actually are participating in the banquet that one day hopefully we will have in heaven. And one last thought. As you know, I was on vacations in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. It was beautiful. I've been to many beautiful places. He estado en México 4 veces. I've been in Mexico 4 times. Mexico is beautiful. I've been in Poland. Poland is przepiękna, as they say. It's beautiful. I've been to Puerto Rico. I've been to many places in this world. They're beautiful, beautiful lakes. In fact, when I was in Michigan, I was on this beautiful lake reading my Bible. There was no one around me. I looked out and I saw what a beautiful, beautiful lake this is. And I had a very profound thought. It happens sometimes, right? Sometimes Father has a very profound thought. And I thought to myself, the God who made this beautiful lake, the God that made the UP so beautiful, or Mexico, or Poland, or the United States, or any of these countries, the God who made the whole universe, the God that made all of us, in the Eucharist, comes to me. Young children, there is no greater gift than that. Jesus doesn't just give us something in the Eucharist. Jesus gives us his very body and blood, his life. He gives himself. Please, may your first Holy Communion be a beginning of many other holy communions. Papás y mamás también, pero papás en general, por favor que traigan sus hijos a la iglesia. Es la primera vez que van a recibir a Jesucristo, pero por favor que no sea la última vez antes de la confirmación. Saber que están recibiendo el pan de la vida eterna, el cuerpo y la sangre de Jesucristo. ¿Usted va a negar a su hijo recibir la comunión por 6 años? No. Eso es un delito espiritual. Si yo realmente quiero a mis hijos, yo quiero que sean santos. Por eso les voy a traer aquí a la misa para que reciban a Jesucristo, el don más grande en todo el mundo. Please, parents, Remember that you have an obligation to bring your children to receive Jesus, the bread of life, his body and his blood. It is the greatest gift that we can receive on this earth. Let us therefore, in these moments, as these young people then prepare to receive Jesus for the first time, the bread of life, this great miracle that Jesus worked when he was with the 5,000 people or the 10,000 people, is now going to come into your hearts. You're going to receive that same Jesus who raised people from the dead, who multiplied the loaves and the fishes, the same Jesus who created the entire universe. In a couple of minutes, that same Jesus is going to come to you in the Holy Eucharist. Let each one of us therefore prepare our souls for this greatest of all the gifts that God has given us in the life of Jesus our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.